Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Band of Enemy Reactions, and this is going to be my review, recap, whatever, for Inuyasha Episode 1. And if you've read the title and you like the show and you haven't already subscribed, I'd recommend doing so because it's a good show. It's an old show, it's from the 90s, but not old like compared to the Dragon Ball franchise, because that was from the 80s. Or at least the original one was. Or that's when it started, anyway, I should say. Anyway, this story essentially is about a half-demon wanting to become a full demon, and that's why he steals the Shikan Jewel of 4 souls. And, could somebody tell me how Kikyo had gotten injured? I assume Naraku had done it to her, but we don't get to see it. At least not in this episode. If it happens later on in the show, let me know. And I won't push it further because we'll obviously get to see it, but... yeah. She pins him to a tree with her sacred arrow. And that's not an innuendo or anything. You dirty minds out there, but... yeah. Yeah, she pins him to the tree and essentially kills him? And yet seals him in time or something like that because he comes back later. So he didn't technically die? I don't know. Anyway, and then she ends up dying from her injuries, wherever they came from, and has them burn the Shikan Jewel with her so nobody else can get at it. Makes sense. But I guess, she thought that the Shikan Jewel could be destroyed by fire or something, because, the thing is, though, that when you burn a body, all that would be left would be the bones, and if the Shikan Jewel can't be destroyed, you would still have the Shikan Jewel afterwards, it would just be sitting in the pile of ash, you know? But I guess it's, since it's magical, it ended up going through time and into Kagome, the main female lead in this show. Sort of. But, yeah, her grandfather is running a shrine around the sacred tree that used to be way back when. And trying to pass off, keychains that have this sacred jewel on them, to sell at the temple, I guess, for travelers. I guess they gotta make money somehow. But, yeah. I guess her parents have actual jobs and her grandfather's running the shrine. And she's heard the stories of the Shikan Jewel, the sacred tree, all that stuff many times over in her life. And one day she ends up going and seeing her brother trying to get the cat out of the area where the well is. And when you see the well, you think, how could the cat have gotten in the well if there's a cover on it? It's not like the cat could lift up the cover and take it off and then put it back on. No, only a human would be able to do that. And thankfully, the cat was not in the well. It was in there, but it just wasn't in the well. But something pops out of the well and grabs Kagome and drags her through. Drags her through time and down to the bottom of the well. It's a demon, and it apparently wants the Shikan Jewel, but she doesn't have it. As far as she knows. Thankfully, she's somehow able to dispel the demon with abilities that she has thanks to being a descendant of Kikyo. But yeah, she is a descendant of Kikyo, and that's actually why she has the sacred jewel, because I guess it passed on through her for her descent line. And wait a minute. Question. Okay, that makes no sense now that I think about it. How could Kikyo have a descendant when apparently, as far as we know, she has not had any children? Has she had secret children her whole life and we never knew about it in the show? Because that's the only way you could have a descendant. Because if she didn't have any children, then her descendant line would end with her when she died. Only way that could happen is somehow her sister was able to continue that line and it just directly connected to her anyway. I don't get it. But yeah, if anybody wants to answer these questions, let me know. Give me some info on this world and how it works and anime logic. Because that's how I'm thinking of it, is actual logic. Like, how can you have a direct line of descendants in your tree if your line of descendant ended with you when you died because you didn't have any kids, And apparently you have a descendant later on in life. That makes no sense, Because I'm assuming that Kaede didn't have any kids either, as far as we know. So, yeah, apparently, I don't get it. Anyway, she ends up climbing out of the well and finding out that she's in the feudal era. And I actually didn't mention this in the video when I was watching it, but it didn't come to mind at the time. But yeah, this is the feudal era Japan, way back in the past I assume it's still Tokyo? Or what would be Tokyo, way back in the past, or, I don't know, it's something like that. It's essentially the past. And 50 years after Kikyo ended up sealing Inuyasha to that tree. And she actually ended up coming across Inuyasha, still sealed, still dead. And she gets the urge to touch his ears. And I think any anime fan, if they were in that situation, especially if they're a girl, they'd want to do the same. I would too! Especially if the guy is freaking, not moving. I wouldn't have any worry about him attacking me for doing that. But yeah, I wouldn't blame her at all for doing that. And she ends up getting found by the villagers, and they assume that she's a demoness, because she was in the forest of Inuyasha. Kaede pops up as an old woman. I still don't know how she ended up injuring her eye, because when she was a kid, she still had the bandage over her eye. So, what happened? So many questions. Anyway, she ends up telling them that she's not a demon, obviously, and Kaede ends up talking to her, and that demon from before shows up and starts terrorizing the village. And it's still looking for the sacred jewel, which means it's still after Kagome, because she still apparently has the jewel. At least in its mind, anyway. And she ends up running into the forest to try and lure it away. For some reason, thinking that somebody's going to save her in the process. That's kind of odd. What are you expecting to happen? The villagers are still in the village trying to deal with all that. And the only one in the forest at the time we know of is Inuyasha, and he is, not responding. Speaking of that, at some point he ends up getting revived somehow and waking up. And when he sees Kagome, he thinks she's Kikyo. And it's kind of, I can understand that because they kind of look alike, but she's her descendant, not her. Because she died. And, yeah, the creature still is attacking, and it ends up causing Kagome an injury and gets the jewel out of her, which was in her torso area. Like around her stomach. And it gets the jewel out, and it eats it, while pinning Kagome to the tree with Inuyasha, with its body. I almost said tentacles. Oh my god, that would have been bad. Yeah. Anyway, it's essentially Inuyasha tells them, release me, and I will be release me from this dang tree. And Kaede tries to tell her, don't do it. But heck, even Inuyasha's got a good point on this. If you don't, you're all gonna get eaten. Even if me down out of the tree, you essentially have a much better chance of surviving, essentially. So essentially it's either that or dying. And Kagome chooses to live and pulls the arrow out. And he easily kills the demon, but here's the thing, he still wants the jewel. And Kagome's like, he's not the hero? Well, not yet. It's still just the first episode after all. There's character development with that. Anyway, yeah, I actually do like the show, and as far as what I've seen anyway. And I hope you guys do too. If you guys haven't seen it before, I hope you guys can watch it with me. And this is kind of a semi-long episode. It's longer than Black Clover at the moment. It's like 167 episodes, I think. But it's a complete show. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll get to work on uploading this, and then I'll work on the Harry Potter episode, or Harry Potter Part 2. And I will see everybody next time.